Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new process video. I'm working on some photos from Cincinnati and I've got 6x8 on the left, 3x8 insert on the right. I really only have one pocket to fill, which is great unless I change my mind on something. So I'm hoping that this one will be fairly quick and easy. The other bonus is that these are all city photos, and I have lots of stuff for city photos. I have tons of phrase labels. I have my embellishments, the ones that I sort by color. Like a lot of those are trip and city related. So again, I'm hoping it'll be somewhat easy. The difficult part, I think, is going to be color. I've got a lot of neutrals happening here, but I've got a yellow bridge. I've got some yellow here from the lights coming on. So I think I might look for a card that at least has some yellow on it. It doesn't have to be full yellow around the border or whatever, but I think maybe a little yellow would help. And then embellishment wise, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously I could do yellow, but I also have a lot of gray. So maybe like a darker shade that plays off of the bluish gray in the sky. Not totally sure, but I'll do what I usually do. I'll pull out my cards. I'll pull out the bin I have for this. I'll pull out my travel stash of stuff and I'll go from there. So right from the start, I'm pulling out some packages of all of my ephemera, and I wanted to have the one that has the orange and yellow in it because I know I want to look at yellow. And then this one actually is a mix. It's black and white, but then also there's gray in there. And I don't think I want black. I thought about it, but I'm like, oh, it just feels like it would be so dark against some of this. So if I do it, I think maybe a white background with black font or the gray, but I don't think I'd want to do something like this where it's so much black. That's a little too intense for what I'm doing here, I think. Okay, I have found two things already in here that I may use, and I think I'm going to end up making my own card. I didn't even look in my cards yet, but I think just given what I have found, that's probably what's going to happen. So I have this. This is a 2-inch piece of ephemera, and it's nicely suited to put right in the middle of a card. I could definitely go with a grayish background and it would look completely fine, but it gives me a nice pop of yellow without being super overwhelming. So I do like that one. But I'm really leaning towards this one. And I love that it is larger. It will take up a lot of the card. I love that it also gives me some journaling option because it's got lines on it where this obviously does not. Because otherwise no journaling will happen here. There just isn't really room for it. So I could use that. I did, when I cut this out, it's a digital file. I just went around the edges. I didn't go into all these little details. If I were to use this, I would go around and fussy cut it to make it look more like the ticket it's supposed to be. And I think that would add a nice visual interest on here if I chose to do that. So if I go with that one, that'll be my plan. So far looking at these, I do heavily lean towards this one, and I think the color it's a little bit lighter. I think it looks pretty nice with all of the yellow I've got happening here. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be this one. I have decided that I'm going to use this. So I've pulled out my gray scraps just to find something that I can cut down into a 3x4 that might work with these photos. And it's kind of interesting when you see them side by side. I thought these backgrounds were closer to gray. Not really. I mean, look at that. There's quite a lot of blue there. So now I'm not sure this is what I want. I mean, it looks okay with the water because it's a very gray tone in the water, but I don't know. I'm not convinced now that gray is the right way to go. I'm going to pull what I can out of here and just hold it up to everything and see what I think. But I might actually end up going with a light blue instead. These are the two grays that I have picked out. They're not that far off from each other, but this is markedly darker. And I mean, it looks fine on either option if you don't put it next to these. When I put them up there, they look very blah, very sort of drown out. I don't know. I'm not crazy about it. So I'm going to keep them in reserve because you just never know. But I have pulled out my blue scraps as well. And I'm hoping maybe there's something in here that's, I don't know, a little bit closer to this that might help with that color. Otherwise, I feel like the color is going to be really boring, and I don't want that. When I went into my stash of blue papers, this was the closest one I could find, and I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. When I do this, I mean, it's a nice color match with the yellow. I think not a match, a contrast. It's a nice contrast, but I'm not sure I love it with the rest of this. I could use this lighter gray, keep the yellow, and then I noticed there is red here in the stadium, along here, it's a darker red. Like, I could work that in maybe if I went with the gray. I think I have some darker red washi. So I could maybe cut this down to a 3x4, put a red strip of washi in there, and then put this over it to have both of those colors represented. But I'm not sure this is the right choice. I thought it was going to be, and I'm not convinced. I cut down the gray cardstock, so I have that the right size. I haven't fussy cut this yet, but I will. But I picked out 2 washies. Both of these are a darker red. Now, that's a lighter red over here, but these are darker. And I think either one of these would be okay. I'm leaning towards this one. I really like the pattern of it. And because this is kind of so blah by itself, having this bold pattern might help it. And I actually think it kind of works with this bridge because of the way the scaffolding and stuff is here. It might be okay. So I think I'm going to go with that one. Here is the card with the washi that I put on there. And I wanted to make sure I got the placement right before I actually fold over that part. And I think once this is cut and on here, I think that's what I like. And I originally thought I would go end to end. I don't think so now. I like the ripped end look to it. So that's what it would look like there. And I think that's the right way to go. But then I definitely need either more of this over here with another strip or an embellishment over it or something in this color, because otherwise it's not enough. It looks weird. So I need something over here that matches. Well, guys, let me tell you, I'm not the world's best fussy cutter, which I already knew. But I was trying to do all the edges on this, and I was having a hell of a time trying to do it by hand. And so then I thought, oh, I've got a crop-a-dial, which comes with, holes ready made. I can just use those, line it up correctly, and kind of get the semicircle, half circle look. No. Trying to line that up evenly every time to make sure they all match is ridiculous. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to continue to do that. Forget it. So you can kind of see where I did it by hand here. It did not come out the greatest, but I'm going to live with it because I don't want to have to print another one of these and mess with all that. So I decided to just cut off the top and the bottom where those little divots were, because it was too much. When it becomes more stress than it is fun to scrap something, I'm done. I'm not about that. So this is what we're going to end up with. And that's what's going to be over the washi on the card. Since I had the washi out already, I decided to just put a strip on there, and I will find something that will hang off of there. And, actually looking at this, I think I'm going to put in staples on the side for some extra visual interest. There we go. So now I have that done. So I do need to find some kind of embellishment to hang off here. And then if I wanted to, I could do something at the bottom here or up top. I have lots of space to play with there. So we'll see what happens. I think I have figured out the final piece here. I'm going to find a yellow label as close to this as I can. And then I remembered I have this stamp set. And there's a stamp on here that says tour boat. How often do you get to use that? Very, very rarely, at least in what I've done with my travels, not a lot. So I'm going to find one that's big enough, hopefully, to stamp that in there. I do also have some blank circular elements where if it doesn't fit on a label, I could do it in a circle. So we'll see what I find. But in any case, I'm going to use this stamp. And who makes this? It's called Tour Guide from 2020. Oh, it was from Kelly Perky. No idea if that's available. I'm sure it's not, since she's kind of seems like she's winding down her shop and not selling as much. So maybe Etsy, if you like it. I just realized I said Etsy. I've done that, I think, in 2 other videos. Not Etsy, eBay. I don't know why I have Etsy on the brain. If you like it, maybe look on eBay. I couldn't find a label that was the right color or size, and so I ended up going with a circular element after all. And I love how that turned out. That boat fits in there perfectly. But I realized, look at that. Like, it's huge compared to the washi. It basically covers up the whole thing. So I think I'm going to leave that there and just do like a visual triangle, because I've got here, and that means down here for this one. So I think I'm just going to do it like that, clip off a tiny little bit, and then it'll be fine. And I think it's okay because there's really nothing I'm losing here. It's just the water. And I have that in lots of these photos. So I think that's how it's going to be. I have finished the layout, and I decided that I needed something underneath this. It felt very blank, so I just chose a little stamp that said observe and put that on there. This is it's a small older set. I can't tell you when exactly, but it's an older set from Citrus Twist. So that's where it came from. But otherwise, I believe this one is done now, and I'm very happy with the way it turned out. So here's another one finished for Cincy. Thanks for watching.